Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Final Fantasy Wiki podcast adventure episode 9. I think it's episode 9.
It's definitely not episode 9.
It's something along those lines. This is now the 6th or 5th episode because one episode was lost. We did have a whole conversation about the city of NT back in September. And that episode was lost, and we kind of lost our spirits with it. So we've been gone for a while, but now we return to you to discuss things. My name is
Everything.
Yes, we discuss all the things. My name is BlueHighwind, also known as Eric Fuchs, and joining me tonight are these two fabulous, most groovy individuals.
I'm the grooviest of them all. Mirror, mirror on the wall. My name is Scathe.
Oh, that is the first time you've ever complimented me in any of these podcasts or Let's Plays. Thank you so much. Okay. I am Technobliterator.
Okay. Scathe, there's like some noise coming from you, like papers.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just not. I'm wrestling this amazing code that we have. See, that's a good segue. It's this amazing discount code.
You have a discount code?
I do. I bought some cup of noodles a few days ago because there was a snowstorm, and then I didn't eat them. And I ate them this morning to get ready for this great podcast. And there's an amazing discount code for someone who plays the city NT, which is none of us.
Yes.
But, fellas, if you listen to this podcast, I got a special offer for you. If you text the keyword cup noodles to 87963, standard messaging rate supply. That's CUPNOODLES to 87963. You can get something which is not specified in this cup of noodles that I bought for $1. But
okay,
you can use this wonderful code.
What character is on your cup of noodles?
It is Steve, the Warrior of Light.
Steve, the Warrior of Light. You see, I've had the cloud flavor, and as we know, all cup of noodles with cloud flavor must be, by fiat from the FDA, must contain at least trace amounts of cloud strife. And it was terrible.
Like the Warrior of Light himself, this cup of noodles was bland and horrible.
Yes.
It was one of the worst things I've ever eaten.
Well, I mean, it's cup of noodles. Once you get over, like, 22, it is completely inedible.
I don't know how anyone could ever eat it.
I had one just to have a cloud one recently, and it was disgusting. You gotta get the, like, big super meals, or the, like, spicy kind, or the ones that actually take, like, 5 minutes to microwave. Those are the good ones. The regular old cup of noodles are disgusting. So anyway, at this Cup of Noodles podcast, we also discuss Final Fantasy business. And in the year of our Lord, Cloud Strife 2018, there has been some news. And the first news is that in January or early February, a game called The City of NT came out. And basically no one cares.
So Dissidia launched to roughly mixed reviews. It's about, like, I think it's hovering on about 7 out of 10 on Metacritic.
Which is a 0, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Verdict for it is that it launched with not enough content because the story mode's more or less not there, not enough characters yet. So the Final Fantasy Wiki recommends that you hold off on buying it for now until they release more content for it and until they drop the price a little bit. Wait for a complete edition, basically.
Also, Vane Solidor DLC coming out soon. I don't know, is that paid DLC?
Yes. It is DLC, and unfortunately it's paid. But as we say, you will probably find out that they'll launch it later with a discount and with all the DLC previously included. So we recommend you wait for that version, basically.
If you wait a year, it'll all be free.
Yeah, or you could get Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which is probably a much better game. Or actually, you could wait for Smash 5, which will probably have Cloud in it. So.
Or you could just play Smash 4, which already has Cloud in it.
Assuming the Smash we're getting for Switch isn't just a port of the one for Wii U.
Also, I said it probably has Cloud in it, but Square Enix is Square Enix, so who knows?
Port of the Wii U version, then it will have Cloud in it. If not, then
it'll have Caius, everyone's favorite character.
Everyone's favorite character, Caius. Wait, who's Caius again? He's Final Fantasy XIII dude with the funky sword.
Yeah, he's
Goddess of Light, I will release you from the bonds of the darkness of the light and the darkness and Sarah and all that shit.
Yeah.
Another bit of news relating to Cloud Strife is we've heard that the Final Fantasy VII remake development is still ongoing, there's been a job posting about it saying that they're looking for a level planner with Unreal Engine 4. Now,
This is the opportunity, folks.
Yes, this could be your chance to go and put your stamp on the Final Fantasy history.
Alright, so the few interesting things to note about this job posting. First of all, that it doesn't ask for someone who necessarily has even played 7. So they're looking for like outside experience, whatever.
Okay, that
But the second thing
excludes
is
me.
they say that the job posting is about improving the quality to fans' expectations or whatever. There's a ton of ways to interpret this, but I think the best way to interpret this is, we're not going to expect this remake to come out anytime this year, maybe in the next year. But yeah, basically they're still hiring people for level planners, but what they did say, however, is that all the graphics and all the renders are done. So all the 3D models are created, whatever, they just need to put it together. Expect to not get this remake soon, but we may get an update in E3. It depends. The last time we heard about it was when we got a new screenshot last year, and the screenshot showed a new interface, which was interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yes, so if you have any hope for that. But the next thing that's happening is a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer came out, which may actually release in 2019. Potentially 2018, but let's be real, it'll be 2019. So the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer in February, which apparently was a month ago, but I seriously thought this trailer came out 5 months ago until I was told otherwise. There is a Monsters, Inc. world. And Vanitas is back.
And there's a new song by the pop star. It's not very good, unfortunately.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts is not Final Fantasy, so just forget that we said all that stuff. That does not count. It's outside our scope. So let's go on to something that is in our scope, which is Final Fantasy XV, for some reason, is still happening.
It continues.
What we've got from 15 is we've got the Royal Edition, which adds a bunch of new bosses, a couple of scenes, and it's been pretty well received, but I'm not sure. Well, having not played it, I can't say whether I recommend spending extra money on it if you've already got the game. If you haven't got the game, this is the best time to get it, because not only do we have the Royal Edition, which comes with all the previous DLC, but we also have the Windows Edition, which looks amazing. Windows Edition, comes in 4K and everything. If you've got a really good computer to run it on, it's the best rendering of the game. The graphics are superb, etc. So that is worth checking out if you're a Windows user. If you're not, well, there's still the console version. And if you are going to get any version of it, it should be the Royal Edition. However, unfortunately, with the Royal Edition, the sad reality is, it's kind of the version that we should have got a couple years ago. So it is an improvement, and the scenes are definitely worth checking out. The boss fights are really cool. Adds quite a lot of new lore, etc. Really good addition to the game. Wish we had it when the game launched.
Yeah, agreed.
It's Pocket Edition. The Pocket Edition is a lot cheaper than the main game, so if you just want to experience the story of 15...
There is no story to 15.
Also, the Final Fantasy XV Pocket Edition, that's coming out on the Game Boy Pocket, am I correct?
Yes.
Alright.
That's,
No, it's
so
mobile
that's coming
phones.
to your Android and iOS devices, and
Not Windows Phone.
I've actually heard good things about it, which is interesting.
None of us
So,
have played it.
if you want to check out 15, but you don't want to spend the big bucks on it, then just check out the Pocket Edition. It's probably worth doing. It's interesting. Really different art style for it and everything. And I've actually heard good things about it.
And I bet Cup of Noodles isn't there, so...
Are there Cup of Noodles in that one?
There are Cup of Noodles in the main game, so there better be Cup of Noodles in this Pocket Edition, let me tell you.
As you know, Cup of Noodles is the official food of Final Fantasy. If you want something that's full of saturated fats and salt, it has no nutritional value whatsoever, go and play Final Fantasy.
It's kind of a metaphor, fitting metaphor.
Also, one thing I do have to announce is that Final Fantasy is dead forever. In fact, it's been dead for some time now because the PC edition, I think, came out with a Sims 4 tie-in, which is the most awful thing I have ever seen in my life. I've been playing these games for something like 12, 13 years, and all that time has been wasted. And I continue to waste it by doing this podcast right now. Ah, so
Windows
well.
Edition came with these weird tie-ins, like including Sims.
There's a Half-Life one too for some reason.
Oh, there's a Half-Life one?
Half-Life one as well.
Yeah, there's a Half-Life one. Yeah, you
wow.
can for some reason you can play as good old Gordon Freeman for some reason if you wanted to.
Of making games again.
So if you ever want to find the game that is the nexus between Half-Life, Assassin's Creed, and The Sims, it's
Yeah,
Final
there you go.
Fantasy 15. Eventually, Final Fantasy will be the center of the gaming world. All games will tie in.
I bet the Windows Edition you could mod Noctis to be someone more interesting. Like, I don't know.
Cloud.
You could be like, you can make him Geralt and just pretend you're playing The Witcher 3.
Yes. Also, in big
There's mod
news,
support.
Geralt is in
That's the
Shenmue
thing I
6,
missed,
right?
actually.
No,
Missed actually. There is mod support for 15 Windows Edition, so
Wait.
extra reason to check it out, I guess.
Wait, what's a Geralt in?
He's in Soul Calibur.
Soul
Yeah, he's in Soul
Calibur. No, Shenmue isn't even a fighting game. What do I know? I know
well,
nothing.
I would love it if he was in Shenmue 3. That would be amazing.
Shenmue
honestly.
6.
Fact.
I'm reporting
we
from
cover the fact that
2031.
Noctis is in Tekken.
We did not, but he is. We've now
Noctis-
covered it. That's all we have to say about it.
You know, it's too bad that Geralt and Noctis weren't in the same game. You know, that would be a fight for the ages. My fight for the ages would mean Geralt's in a much better game and from a much better series.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no.
Well, I mean, Witcher 3 is the game that Final Fantasy 15 wished it was. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we should get on to what the point of this is. Now, I think the real point was that we missed doing this, so we just decided to do this again. But because we need to at least theoretically have a point to these things, we're going to rank the Final Fantasy games. So, right here,
Hey.
I have a list of all the main Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Tactics, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay? We are excluding Final Fantasy XI because none of us here have played it, and I don't think anyone cares. Now,
Yeah.
if you are a Final Fantasy XIV fan, please hunt us down and kill us, in which case Final Fantasy XI will become the main game on the list. Only if you kill all three of us, and you must do it in order of age and Zodiac
Yes.
sign.
And Zodiac sign.
And
okay.
Zodiac sign, yes. So we
Okay.
are waiting for you. Get on that quest if you are a Final Fantasy XI fan. But anyway, here we have 1 through 15. And I'm going to go throw this out here. Let's just put 14 into the 7th slot. Let's put it in 7.
Okay.
I'd say that game is...
7th slot. As the only person of the group who has played it, 14 in the 7th slot is actually very reasonable, and I'm going to justify that right now.
Okay.
The story is actually extremely good. It picks up a lot after the first chapter, I guess. So basically, Heaven's Ward onwards, the story becomes extremely good. Before that, the story is still very good. Gameplay really good. Even if you're not into MMOs, it's a great place to start. There's a load of like extra dungeons and stuff which have references to the previous games, such as a dungeon that came out recently where you get to fight Kafka, including Kafka in God form. That's amazing. Yeah, so 14 definitely worth checking out if you're even if you're not into MMOs. But basically, I can only recommend it to you if you've got the time and money to spend on it.
Okay.
If you've got the time and money to spend on it, if you're a fan of the series, definitely check out 14. It's earned its 7th spot. And now we're going to go on to the mainline games that
Yeah.
single player games.
I think I'm gonna put it out there. Number 15, put Final Fantasy 2 in the 15 slot, worst game. I think we can agree on that one.
was honestly going to say we should put Final Fantasy 13 there.
Oh, actually, you know what? 2 should be 14 and 13 should be 15.
I was going to say we should probably start from the bottom. That might be the
Yeah.
easiest way to
Start
do
from
this.
the
Yeah.
bottom, excluding 14. We've already put that in the 7th spot.
Yes. And Final Fantasy XI, as previously stated, does not count because none of us care. But we are all agree that Final Fantasy XIII is the worst game in this main series.
Yes, I agree.
Does anyone want to fight that? This is the entire internet right now gets to go and speak in the next 10 seconds, or else Final Fantasy XIII is officially the worst game in the series.
I
Well,
like Blinded by Light. That's a
I'm
good
going to
song.
contest that. FF2 is worse.
you're gonna say FF2 is worse?
About.
Unfortunately, Final Fantasy XIII is already in the last slot, so I'm sorry. You had your chance, you missed it. So
Well, I think we should at least justify why we're putting 13 last.
Till we get to 13 to justify it, shall we?
Well, I mean, one of the big reasons is that Final Fantasy XIII 2 is not on this list. So
That's true. That's true. That is one reason.
That is one
If
reason.
there's a 16 slot, imaginary 16 slot, Final Fantasy 13 2 fits in there nicely.
Okay, just in Final Fantasy XIII's defense, the main battle system I think is quite good. The only problem is that everything around that main battle system is terrible. The characters
You don't even get to it till like 30 hours in the main battle system. You don't even play it.
You are not allowed to fully play the game until you have put in basically the entire length of Chrono Trigger. You can play all of Chrono Trigger, or you can play the part of Final Fantasy XIII that isn't good. To get to the part that's okay, and then it gets bad again, and then the ending's really stupid, and then they made 2 sequels.
Basically.
Yeah.
Sense of 13 is, aside from what Blue mentioned, the other, saving graces of the game, I guess, are that, I can see what they were trying to do because the lore is very developed, which is a good thing. And the character designs are pretty neat.
I think the game has got super cool ideas. It's like a Dyson sphere, and there's robot gods and stuff. These are all things I one day hope to steal and make.
I like the
cool
aesthetics. The aesthetics are cool. I think.
Eh.
Well, there's a few aesthetics that I like. Like there's the forest level, which is really cool. I like the forest level. I don't remember what it's called, but the forest level is nice. But the problem with the Final Fantasy 13 is that it's a tube. It's a tunnel.
Yeah.
It's a subway tunnel. You literally can hold up on the PlayStation 3 controller. You can tape it up, and then tape X, and you can beat the first 30 minutes of the game, or first 30 hours of the game like that.
And the characters are bad, and the dialogue is bad, and the story is bad. So yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff. Also, Final Fantasy II is just thoroughly mediocre in basically every way, and the battle system is just weird.
So we can say 2 is 14, right?
We could put 2 in 14, yes. So now becomes the 13th slot. So what should go there?
I think the third game or the first game.
You would put Final Fantasy 1?
I was going to say FF1.
I was going to say...
Final Fantasy 1
I was going to say...
goes in the 13th slot.
I was going to say a game that we've already discussed at length here. I was going to say that Final Fantasy 15 should go there.
I think Final Fantasy 1 has aged not very well at all. It was groundbreaking for its time. You know, it introduced lots of good things. I'm sure it was great at the time it came out, but the problem is, you know, times have moved on since 1987, I think it was when it came out.
86,
and
maybe.
I really can't recommend anyone pick it up anymore unless they're just really curious to see how the series started out, because, you know, you'll go back to that game, you'll find it's quite boring, I guess. It's just less interesting than the other ones. So no, I can't recommend 1 anymore. It's just not aged very well.
I disagree entirely. I think Final Fantasy 1 still holds up fairly well. One of the problems is that I kind of read my own story into it because there isn't a ton of it. Yeah. I kind of saw it as a very dark and post-apocalyptic kind of Dark Souls-y game. Because basically there's no one in this world, and you travel between towns and there's just monsters attacking you constantly. I found it a very interesting game, especially the GBA dungeons, where you enter the Shimmer from Annihilation, and the whole world is just madness, and you enter fake world maps and all kinds of crazy stuff.
You know, I think you've changed my opinion. I think there's something about the first Final Fantasy game that has sincerity, that it like feels earnest in a way that Final Fantasy 15 is the opposite of earnest.
Yeah,
where it feels packaged.
I don't agree.
I'm willing to put. You know what? I'm willing to give up Final Fantasy 1 here.
Okay, we'll put 1 in 13.
So, like, the gameplay is bland, the story is bland. Like,
I'll admit all these things are kind of true. I was just trying to play through Dragon Quest VII recently, which is another game a lot like this. And, it's just very, very slow, and I was surprised by how little I liked it.
I think there's certain people who really like Final Fantasy 1, and I think if you're into sort of dungeon crawlers, I think Final Fantasy 1 is a really good one.
Oh yeah,
but it's not
about the dungeons.
But it's not really a good Final Fantasy game, if that makes any sense. It's the aesthetics, you know, the whole package isn't really there yet.
But in 12, I'd say put Final Fantasy 15, even with everything they've added.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't agree with you, but I will give up this spot, like, because that's not a hill I want to die on.
This is not a hill you. Oh yes, we're doing straight up giant bomb stuff now. This is exactly the dialogue I wanted.
My defensive
yeah.
Is before you start like hating on it, I'll give my defense of it. Enjoyed it because it was the first Final Fantasy that I actually 100%ed. Because basically I found the battle system, it's simple but it's really fun. I actually grew on the main characters a lot. I started to really enjoy it. I like the lore, even if I don't think the story is particularly well told. Well crafted, it's beautiful, etc. There's a lot of really, really good ideas in there that I think are really good, but I will still concede and say that it's not as good as it should have been. I think the updates have definitely improved it a lot, but I will say that in the series basically, and even though it's a good game, it doesn't hold up to the others, is what I'll say. Like, there's a lot of good things in there, but yeah.
I found it to be heavily packaged in a way that was surprising to me. Like, it really felt like a game that any company could have made, and that's really my problem with it. It's just not all that terribly interesting. I should also make it clear, because I'm sure everyone on the internet hates us already, but if you ask 100 Final Fantasy fans to make this list that we are writing, you will get 100 different lists. And Final Fantasy 15 and even 13 will end up on the top. And again, if you do want to go and write your own official Final Fantasy Wiki list, you must murder us in order. And it is increasing difficulty, by the way.
But yeah, the thing about Final Fantasy 15 is that it clearly, there's like so much padding in it. If you just play the story, the game is over very quickly, and there's really no story to the game at all. And just when you think a story is going to happen, you end up in a train for 5 hours, and then the game is completely lost.
Story has improved since the updates, I will give it that. But it needed updates to improve it.
Yeah, all the DLC definitely included it. I'm judging this based mainly on the Final Fantasy 15 I played.
Yeah, same.
Which is what came out. That's what I spent $60 on, so...
One of the biggest problems is that when you get on the train, like you literally major plot points start happening when you listen to the radio. It's like it doesn't. They clearly ran out of money, which but the game was in development for so long that I don't know.
Yeah.
It was in development hell for so long. It was only properly developed for like 2-3 years.
Anyway, let's go to 11 and
3.
3.
Yeah.
I'll fight for 3.
Are you gonna fight for 3?
I love Final Fantasy 3.
Do you really?
Everything I said about Final Fantasy 1 goes double for Final Fantasy 3.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Final Fantasy 3 is too difficult to play these days. Not only that, but it has the same problems that 1 has, in that the story is kind of bland.
But
I hate the chart system in that game.
It actually has characters, though. I mean, they're named characters. They don't do much, but they're
doesn't
adorable.
have characters until the DS version.
Well, that's what I'm judging. None of us have played the NES version.
Yeah, that version doesn't count. But
even Square never maintains the NES one. You can't even find it anymore. Any remake is all the DS version.
Right, that's true.
I think that I don't know. I'm still sour in the final dungeon of Final Fantasy III. I don't know. I feel like that's unreasonable. They're asking unreasonable things from people.
Why don't you just get good?
That's true. I could just get good.
You could get good. Yeah.
This is the most difficult game in the series, bar none.
I think Final Fantasy IV DS is actually...
Yeah, I would say Final Fantasy IV is harder. Speaking of which, that is my next spot. So I'm willing to concede Final Fantasy III to the 10th spot if we put Final Fantasy IV in the 11th.
I was gonna say Final Fantasy VIII, but I could.
Oh right, yep, yeah.
I could agree with 4 in the 11th spot.
Why do we? Yeah. What about 11? 4 is 11. 10 is 8. 9 is 3. What about that?
I agree, but I will concede. I guess. Like, I like 4.
A lot of people like
4 was where.
Yeah, I really don't like 4.
4 was where they really started to actually take their stories a lot more seriously. It was where they established a lot of the series tropes. It was the first one where we had. 2 was the first one. Where we
Sorry,
actually had...
Techno, you kind of cut out for a second there. You said it was where we first had, and then there was a space. Hello?
Realism?
He's cutting in and out.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
And then I'll speak in a bit.
Okay. Well, I'll take over where he left off.
Yeah.
So basically, what I was going to say is that 4 is the first time you have real characters and a real plot. 2 has a little bit of that, but not really. And 3 again has no plot. But the 4th game has stories, except the story is kind of stupid, honestly. Where characters will just die. The characters will just die randomly and come back.
Yeah.
There's a real problem in 4 where they force you to have just suboptimal characters, and it's really frustrating for a lot part of the game. Like
yes,
the Magnet Dungeon with Tella. Anytime you have Tella, it's like the worst time ever. It's just awful.
It is. The Magnet Dungeon is the worst dungeon in any Final Fantasy game.
I just hate Tella. I feel like the 4th game, because and the game is really hard, and it's not hard for reasonable reasons. I feel like 3, I will agree that it is just getting good. The 4th game, when they give you Tella, it's not really you don't have any control over that. You just get this awful character you're being handicapped with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Okay,
so 4 will go in the 11th spot because of Tella.
Yeah, I think
I will concede that because I'd forgotten completely about Tella.
Yeah.
But also I'll say 4 gets props because it introduced the ATB system.
Yeah.
I think
I'm unimpressed with ATB. Everyone puts all this like stock into how amazing it was, and I guess it's technically impressive, but when you get right down to it, it's just the same as turn-based. Like, really, it doesn't do all that much.
Okay, so
I suppose, but I quite like the ATB system.
10. I'm gonna let you guys choose it.
I think 8, right? I think 8 is 10.
I would
You
say
reminded
8.
me. 8. I think 8 is here.
You're both gonna say 8. All right, I'll
Yeah.
agree with 8 then. Final Fantasy VIII is a game that
Yeah,
I used to
so,
despise, but since I Let's Played it, I have a lot more respect for it. It's weird as shit, but
8 is like that game. 8 is like Chrono Cross for me, where I like Chrono Cross is like an amazing game in concept and idea, and has great graphics and like great music but the game just doesn't really work.
no.
And
I'm going to...
Yes,
Similar
Techno.
Yeah, I'm similar to Blue on this one. Like, when I first played it, I didn't understand the junction system, so I thoroughly hated it. Hated the hell out of me. Also, I didn't like any of the characters, so that didn't help. So I gave up after, like... I hadn't even finished Disc 1 when I'd given up. Yeah, when I replayed it, when I had more, like, context behind it, I started to enjoy it, but I still couldn't finish it. And basically, that's because the junction system, great in theory, but it's really dumb.
it's fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
It's so easy to break the junction system that it's just annoying. I don't like many of the characters. The only one I like is Keistis.
No, Zell is the one good character.
Hot
Good
dogs.
character because of something you made up.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he's the best character because I made that thing up.
Zell is okay, I guess, but like, it's just the soundtrack is very, very good.
Yeah.
The lore is decent, all things considered, but overall, I'm just gonna say because of the way the story is confusingly told, because they basically made a mess of it after Disc 3, and because of like, just how annoying the battle system is, how it's basically possible to cheese the game with the card system.
Triple Triad is
can't
awesome,
rate
though.
it that
Don't
highly.
be hating that Triple Triad. Triple Triad is
Yeah,
awesome.
Triple Triad
Really?
is the game. Final Fantasy VIII is the side quest.
I know there are a lot of people who really love 8, and I respect those people because I understand what there is to like in this game now. But when I first played it, it really didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I think we're officially getting into games that we have things that we at least like about them.
I'd say we hit that point with Final Fantasy 1. For me, at
Honestly, well,
least.
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
After you passed like 13, these all became at least okay to good games.
I think passing 2 as well. I think 2 is also not a good game.
2 is kind of not great. Let's go to 9.
3.
You were gonna say 3.
I'm gonna say 3. I feel like I think we're already putting 3 too high.
I can't fight for 3
Right.
any harder, so I'm going to. I'm willing to give up 3. I just gotta say, I do truly love that game, and like people can go and say shit about my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I'll just be like, oh, whatever. But like if you're mean to Final Fantasy 3, I'm gonna kill you, and your family.
I mean, I don't dislike 3. I just feel like it can't go any higher than this spot.
No, it really can't.
Yeah.
Sense for 3, at least, it introduced the job system, and that got a whole lot better with 5. But yeah,
All right.
there's some good stuff it established.
I feel like we need more Vikings in
Yeah,
Final Fantasy. This
we
is the
do.
only game that has Vikings in it. Why are there not more Vikings? Definitely, this is the 9th spot for the Vikings.
Okay. So 8. What should go
5.
in 8? Final
5.
Fantasy 5. Yeah.
It's an interesting choice. I would maybe put it slightly higher, but 5 is very, very good.
I kind of forgot that 5 was even still here.
Yeah.
It's alright, here's why I love 5. Job system, very, very good. I don't need to elaborate on that, I don't think. Love how there are so many different ways to play it. Like, even though the story is bland, right? The story is so basic, but there's reason to replay it. Just to test out all the different job combinations and all the ways to cheat it that way is so fun to do. And the main reason I'm putting it really high, Gilgamesh.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy V is basically an improved Final Fantasy 3 in every single way, except for some reason I like 3 better. I don't know why. 7, we already put 14 here, and that's staying there. Now comes to 6. So our remaining games, just to review, because this is the final 6, effectively, is Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VII, 9, 10, Tactics 12.
Out of those, I think 10.
I was going to say
Let's
10
think
as
about
well,
that.
actually.
Yeah.
Because I love Final Fantasy X. It is the game I have replayed the most, and it is the game I have bought the most, actually. It's interesting.
How many times have you bought it?
4 times.
You bought it 4 times. Why did you buy it 4 times?
Because of 4 different consoles. I bought it on PS3, bought on Vita, I bought on PS4, and I bought it on Steam.
I think there's cross-buy for Vita and PlayStation 3.
Nope. Right.
I'm fairly certain there was, or something along those lines.
Nobody knows anything about me, though.
You can change your save files between the two, but you can't buy it
Oh,
again.
Well, that's.
You're the only person I know to ever own a Vita, by the way, just so you know.
I've only ever
Like,
seen a Vita once in real life.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, is that's a huge step up for the series in that it's the first time they did voice acting and motion capture, and you can say they didn't do that great of a job of it, because sometimes the voice acting is just whack. Sometimes the voice acting is so awkward.
I don't know. There's something endearing about Final Fantasy X, where it's like the awkward growing phase. I don't know. I kind of like the game, kind of ironically, but then it kind of flips around to me actually liking the game.
I'm kind of more
Like-
negative on 10. I don't actually find that bad voice acting endearing. I find, like, PlayStation 1 janky, like Final Fantasy VII or Metal Gear Solid to be endearing, but PlayStation 2 janky, and I was too old for that at that point. Just like, no.
I see where you're coming from with that. So, my defense of 10. Well, I'm not gonna say defense, more like argument for it, because at this point it's a good. We get into the good games, right?
The great games.
But-
Yeah, the great games.
So why I think Ted is really good and deserves to be high up is so the story is good, and so is the lore. The lore behind it, like Spirit is such an imaginative world, like and it's so the concept art for the setting, at least for the characters, the concept art is whack and all over the place. But for the setting,
like that
Thanks
word
to
now.
Thanks to Murat.
Yeah.
yeah, for the setting, the setting is just like fantastically drawn and well done. It's just the gameplay, with the exception of all the mini games. Fuck Blitzball, hate Blitzball. The
Blitzball
exception of that
sucks.
part.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Blitzball.
The
Blitzball is
exception
awful.
of that part is
If we're
so
doing-
fun.
If we're doing minigame list, 8 is always number 1.
9.
No, Tetramaster is awful.
Chocobo Hot and Cold.
Oh, you're right. Chocobo Hot and Cold. Okay, 9, then
Alright,
8.
but so for 10, like the gameplay is actually really good. The core gameplay, at least.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I know at the start it starts off with basically a rock paper scissors where you get Auron for the armored enemies, you get when you need to be healed, you get Lulu for the elemental
Nothing,
weakness
because
enemies.
Lulu sucks.
Lulu's
that-
okay.
Gets into it, it gets really like the gameplay later on is so fun, and I just really enjoy it. But really, for 10, it's the story.
Mhm.
It's just the story is like obviously what story doesn't have plot holes, but the story is just really emotional. It's like an emotive story, and I thoroughly enjoy 10. So I'm gonna say it is it definitely deserves a number 6 spot. That's exactly where I'd put it, but there's a reason I've replayed it so many times. I really like it.
I'd say if there's a weakness to 10, it's got the same problem as 13 with like really bad world design. But you can actually go backwards in that game, so it's
Yeah,
far
that's
better.
the thing. Like,
The
And
thing
that's
about
the thing,
10,
like-
Titus is a shitbag, and fuck that guy.
yeah.
Tidus. I hate Tidus.
Yeah,
He's
but,
grown on me. In my 4th playthrough, I actually started to like him. In my first playthrough, I despised him.
so you have like a
So-
Stockholm syndrome thing going on with Titus,
Yeah.
Titus, whatever his
Weird.
name is. All right, we can move on to 5 now.
All right,
I
so
don't
what's left?
know. I don't know what to put here.
Oh, no, this is getting hard, right?
This is actually getting difficult. I might say
Oh.
something a bit rough here. I'm gonna say Final Fantasy
I'm
VI.
going-
Mm.
No, I can't agree with you at all. I'm going to say Tactics.
No.
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 Tactics does not go this low.
No.
Alright.
Tactics is top 3. I'm not
Tactics-
bitching on this.
Yeah. I might fight
Not
for
putting
tactics.
Tactics.
I maybe Final Fantasy VII this low.
7.
then.
I think 7 is 5. I think 7. I agree with 7.
If we're not putting Tactics here, right?
I'd say 7.
I think 7. Yeah. I mean, I think
I-
someone's gonna fight for 6 harder than they're gonna fight for 7.
I am going to
I'm-
fight hard for 6, but I'm going to say less about 7.
Okay.
I think 7. The thing about 7 is that I will agree that 7 is kind of janky if you play it now. But 7, there's a reason why 7 is the game that launched the franchise. It's still there's something about it that
Mm.
that is just
The
really
reason is the marketing, basically. It was marketed like fuck.
yeah.
Well, I'm giving
it-
up 7. I'm gonna make that clear.
Yeah, it's just hard. I mean, the top 5 is gonna be really close.
Yeah.
But I think 7 is still really good. I think it's not obviously there's things about it that are weird. The dolphin minigame.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
And things like the CPR minigame right after. There's some things that are really strange about Final Fantasy VII that
There's
don't
things
hold up that
about
well.
it apart of its charm.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. There's something. I know. What I'm saying is that Final Fantasy VII is so. It's like before it was commercial because it was like the one. I don't know. It is like they almost like they put all the ideas they had into it, and they kind of made it into this weird, crazy mess with Cloud in a wheelchair and this giant cloud, and there's volcanoes and.
There's
I don't
giant
know.
kaiju Godzilla monsters. There's everything.
Yeah, it's
There's
just-
everything in that game. It is amazing.
I know. It's,
The materia system is genius.
yeah.
It's quite good. Yeah.
Oh,
The game's a bit easy, but I feel like that could easily have been tweaked. But the general structure, the foundation was very solid for that game.
And it's one of the few
Basically.
games that
It
I
was
think
fun when
doesn't-
I did the Let's Play,
Yeah.
and I basically put everything into Tifa, and she did 999 against literally every enemy, and then I just do the game.
The thing I like about 7 is that it really doesn't lose steam over the game because a lot of Final Fantasy games tend to either start well or end badly. Like even some of the games are going to put higher in the list. I think like 9, for example,
9
Has
has
a-
some real low points. Yeah.
has a really weak 4th disc.
Yeah.
But 7 never loses that steam, right? Where it always it stays good. It's
Yeah.
the quality is the same throughout the entire game, and I think that's something that's really strong. Because even like Midgard is like the iconic part of the game, but after you get out of Midgard, it's still good. Like,
Yeah.
the quality doesn't dip at all. I think in the entire game.
Like right after you
Fantastic
get out of there, you
Seven.
go to Calm and you have the flashback to Nibelheim, which is just as awesome as anything else.
Like,
Yeah, and then like the the huge materia section, which you think would be like a fetch quest, is actually awesome. Like when you go to space,
You go to
stop the
space!
train. You go to space, you stop the train. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Now the more I talk about it, I kind of feel bad about putting 7 on number 5. I don't know.
I kind of wrote it in already though.
Yeah, I guess.
I wrote it in pen, so we can't change it.
So the thing, like, I think the bad points with 7 are just that it hasn't aged very well at all. Graphics just aren't that great.
Translation
And even though there are some cast members that are really good, like, but then there are some that, like, Kate
Sith.
Sith, yeah.
just shouldn't be
Red
there.
13.
Red 13's okay.
Red 13 has a great story, but I feel like he's a pointless character. He doesn't say anything interesting.
No, you forget he's there, like Final Fantasy V.
That's the thing. That's my problem with him. Like, but there are cast members that we all really love.
You are literally in love with one of them, Techno.
This is trure.
It's dangerous and disturbing, and we should probably move on to 4 then. All right,
Yeah.
4. I'm gonna throw out Final Fantasy VI again.
I'm gonna say 9.
You're gonna say 9?
I know that's heresy, but I'm gonna say 9 at 4.
I say 9
I
has to be in top 3.
I disagree. I'm gonna put tactics here.
You're gonna no.
No.
Tactics
Tactics
right.
is top 3.
Okay. Let's go around the room.
And do the top 4.
Let's just go around the room and everyone say what you think your 4 should be. So I'm gonna say 6. Techno.
It's tactics.
Tactics.
Tactics. All right. Scathe.
9.
Okay. Shit. All right. So nobody has an idea then.
We should make cases.
I don't think we're gonna be able to convince anybody here, though. That's the problem.
Cool.
We might be split here. I feel like the thing about 9 is 9 has one of the best first 2 discs out of any Final Fantasy game. I think it's just the beginning part of 9 is amazing. It starts out so strong, and the only reason I put 9 at 4th spot is that the last like 6th or maybe like 4th of the game is a real drag. I think.
But then the ending is so damn good, though.
The ending is really good, but this.
I'm going to concede with Scathe, and I'm going to put 9 at 4. So
I think
oh
9
no,
is...
it's a mutiny against me.
Yeah,
Shit.
I think 9 is.
Oh fuck! I lose this one. This hurts
I
so
love
bad.
I love 9, and I love the Hawaiian aesthetic. I love the characters in 9, but when the party gets together in Disc 3, the plot kind of falls apart.
Oh my heart has been stabbed 1,000 times.
I know.
in fact, 9 was actually developed in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It was developed for the Final Fantasy Spirits Within movie. So Spirits Within gave us one good thing, which was not itself. Yeah, so I'm gonna say for Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy IX has the best cast of any Final Fantasy game. I think
I can agree with that. Yeah.
by a
Easily.
mile. I mean,
Yes,
Zidane
that's-
and Garnet and all them, they're amazing. It has a better love story than 8. It's got
does, yeah.
a more epic
Yeah.
storyline than 10, and more epic
Soundtrack
things
is
that
amazing.
happen. Soundtrack is amazing. Battle system is basically Final Fantasy VII, slightly improved with actual balance for once. It can actually be difficult for a few seconds.
6's battle system improved, in my opinion.
The only thing, Final Fantasy IX, the battle system is a little slow. That's the only
That's
criticism.
the one problem, yeah. This
Yeah,
is
it's
the
a little
game.
slow.
This is the game
It's-
that needs an HD remake,
it's in
not
versions.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, the battle system is less slow in the PC and the mobile port, which are very fantastic ports, by the way.
Okay.
In fact, those are actually the best. If you've got a mobile phone and you want to play a Final Fantasy game, the best one you can play is 9. Not even a question.
Yeah.
That's the best port of them all.
Okay.
So the graphics still hold up.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is amazing, and
This is-
that's purely because of the art style.
This is the
the
best
art
looking
style is
game
really-
on the PlayStation 1. Or either this or Chrono Cross.
Not even close. Like, it's just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
The only thing on knock with the gameplay is the trans system is so dumb.
Yeah, Transystem's not great.
Yeah. Because I gave up Final Fantasy 9 here, I have to put Final Fantasy 6 next. In 3.
I'm gonna hate you for it, but go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so
My complaint with Final Fantasy 6 is going to be the stupidest and pettiest one you've ever heard.
Okay.
And that is, Chrono Trigger's better.
That's true.
That's you can't knock the game by comparing it to another game.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Well, Chrono Trigger came out later,
Yeah,
but yeah.
but Chrono Trigger isn't a Final Fantasy game. That's why it's not on this list.
Chrono Trigger would be number 1, but it's not on the list,
Yeah.
I think.
Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI. The soundtrack is so good. It was the first one where they moved away from the Crystal storyline. Very good choice, because now they've been much better at telling stories since then. Kafka is the best villain ever, and I will fight you on that.
Let me think.
What about Caius?
Yeah, what about Caius? What about Evil Lightning from 13.2 or 13.3, whatever she was from?
I guess Evil Sarah. Anyway, no one ever played 13 Bird.
No one ever did.
Kafka is the best villain ever. Battle with Kafka, best final boss in the series. Not even close, in my opinion. The final dungeon, etc. You go down the list. I think it did so many things right. I love the gameplay system to bits, even though the gameplay is really easy. I just love the relic system and how everyone has their own function, their own abilities, etc. I think Final Fantasy VI did so many things right. The fact it did so many things right on a SNES game, impressive. I just think 6, I love that game to bits, but I will admit it's not a completely flawless game.
No.
I think
Scathe, now you go. I've talked enough. I'm done.
I think Final Fantasy VI. I guess it's number 3. I can't do blitzes, so that knocks it down a few pegs.
Well, you got to get good.
I do have to get good.
You got to get good.
It's the one that I let's played, right?
Yeah.
I know. I really like this game. I think there's something. It's like Final Fantasy IV, but it works. If that makes any sense. Final Fantasy IV is there's like all the sort of disparate storylines that come together, and you can pick your characters, and none of the characters are just useless except maybe Scion. And
Umaru.
Well, he doesn't count.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a charm where the game still seems fun, and there's something fun about it. There's just something fun about it that gets lost somewhere around.
Strago is basically useless because his laws are useless, and even then, even if there was one law you would want to use for whatever reason, you can just use Go-Go.
Yeah, but then
if we didn't have Strago, we wouldn't have Strago Returns.
Yeah, exactly. And his iron mohawk.
Yeah, the man with the iron mohawk.
And also, Final Fantasy VI has Adlai Stevenson.
Yeah.
2-time candidate for U.S. president.
Yes, this is the game that, for whatever reason, we have all kinds of bullshit running for it. Yeah, so this game was a real home run for the Super Nintendo in the same way that Final Fantasy IX was a home run for the PlayStation 1. And
yeah.
I'm going to go for 2. What does everyone think for 2?
Tactics.
6.
I think we all agree that Final Fantasy Tactics needs to be 2, and that means the number 1 is Final Fantasy XII.
I'm gonna say with Tactics, I would personally put it lower, but I've conceded to you all on that.
Well, yeah, I think we all decide that Tactics is 2 and 12 is 1, right?
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about Tactics and then 12?
Well, 1 would be 12, then 2 would be Tactics.
Tactics, yeah.
Does everyone agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ivalice is the ultimate winner of the Final Fantasy series, then.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Like, Ivalice is the best thing they ever came up with.
Yeah, Tactics has, probably my favorite. It's just the political intrigue in the story. And it's just excellent. I just love the unique sprites they give some of the characters, like Daisadar, like drinking his wine and laughing evilly. There's like some of this.
I love it, but like, it's so hard to follow. Like,
well, that's
so
medieval politics for you right there.
Yeah.
Which is true, right? But has this weird they have this weird thing where everyone talks in old English accents and everything.
Look, do you want me to explain the storyline to you? Because I can do that. Okay. So first there was the 50 Years' War between Ivalice and some other country.
No, I know the storyline. It's fine. But while I was playing it, I didn't understand it.
And then the Catholic Church tries to resurrect Jesus, but it turns out that Jesus was evil. And the Catholic Church is evil.
It happens too.
Yes, so Final Fantasy Tactics is the ultimate statement for Protestantism, which is why it can't be the best game of the Final Fantasy series. It has to be 12, which I think we all agree is an amazing and underrated game.
I think we should also mention that Tactics, I think we didn't talk about the gameplay, but Tactics is...
Oh yeah, that's the strategy RPG.
It's the strategy is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The only thing...
it is also ridiculously hard to play, especially if you don't, like, study it in depth a whole lot. So
suck.
I know you're going to say get good.
This is a get good
Well, I've
situation,
said
so-
that 3 times now, and yeah.
I just, like... I do love Tactics, don't get me wrong. And I love the aesthetic behind it. I love the setting. I love the gameplay. But I just couldn't get that far in it.
Also, much like my complaint about Final Fantasy VI, Tactics has the problem of being slightly not as good as Tactics Ogre.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Tactics Ogre
Yeah,
is...
I suppose.
Well, Tactics Ogre is definitely better in some ways. I think the story of Tactics is better than Tactics Ogre. I like the Tactics Ogre story, but there's the problem with it being split into 2 paths, which makes it kind of...
It does, yeah.
Tactics is perfected, more or less, with a few issues. The only issues, really, are that it's, you can basically win the game by throwing rocks at each other for ages, and then leveling up all your jobs that way.
I mean, if you're going to complain about grind, you're in the wrong series, my friend.
I think the good thing about Tactics is that it combines the chaotic and the lawful paths in Tactics Ogre into one game. So you have Ramza who's lawful, and then Delita who's chaotic, and you get the sort of the dueling cells and the dueling mentality, which I think is kind of fun.
And what's great about it is that Ramza becomes the outlaw and Delita becomes king.
I know, right? It's great.
Man, I might have just convinced myself to put Tactics at number 1.
And Tactics, the ending of Tactics is perfect. If you assume that, I guess we're gonna spoil it, if you assume that Ramza actually dies and it's just hallucinating, the ending of Tactics is perfect. I love the ending of Tactics.
But we should talk about 12 as well.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 12 is the game that this series should have followed and did not.
Yes.
It is an open world. It was way ahead of its time. It was doing things that The Witcher 3 would do eventually.
I mean, this is a game that people didn't like when it came out.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the remake...
That 15 did. Inspired by 12, but 15 didn't do them as well, basically. Like, 12 is so fucking amazing. Everything about the gameplay is more or less superb.
Gambit system... The Gambit system is the only way that RPGs have managed to do what they've been trying to do for about a decade now, which is try to make fast gameplay but still strategic options.
Yeah.
Which, like, 13 did very well, but 12 did better.
Trial mode in 12, the Zodiac Age, by the way, is one of the greatest experiences because it required you to have grinded a lot and have, like, basically gathered all the equipment and everything, but even when you were uber mega powerful at that point, it still challenges you. Like, it still makes you think about strategy as well, and that's so good. Like,
oh yeah, this
and
game...
I think the difficulty curve for 12 is also really good, barring the final boss being way too easy. The game is of a reasonable difficulty curve. There's always something to challenge you. The side quests are always, difficult. The main quest is not too hard, not too it's not too frustrating, but the side quests are always there for, difficulty. There's nothing. It's a good difficulty curve, I think.
It's also aged the best of all the games. Like, there may be a couple things that might annoy you, like with the map system and everything, but everything else about it has aged fantastic.
They also fixed the map in the remake.
What did they do in the remake?
You can just press a button and the map will just show up and show your position.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it so much easier.
I don't remember how the map worked because I haven't played this game since 2007.
You had to press a button to open it.
The Zodiac Age is the best way to play it because I love the job system, but there are people who will defend the original version, and that's fine. But yeah, fantastic game. Everyone should play it, whether you're a Final Fantasy fan or not.
And if you don't like 12, get out. We don't need your kind here.
Pretty much.
Also, Balthier is the greatest Final Fantasy character of all time.
He's in Tactics too.
Yes, which is why those are the number 1 and number 2. There's a reason for that, and he's not in Final Fantasy XIII, which is why it's last.
Yeah.
I disagree with you because I still think Kefka is the best character, but Balthier is very good.
Wait, what about Tifa?
Yeah, what happened to Tifa?
For me, my top 3: Kefka number 1, Tifa number 2, Auron number 3.
Okay, what is it? Fuck, marry, kill? Kefka, Balthier, Tifa.
Well, that's easy for Tifa.
Close. Marry Tifa. Kill Kefka because he's a threat, and fuck Auron because he's dead, so it doesn't matter. Actually, no, that makes me sound
Wait,
like a
that doesn't
necrophile.
make sense.
Oh,
So you
no.
should kill Auron.
Wait a
then,
sec.
right?
Wait a second. Yeah.
I walk that back. I'm gonna walk that back and say fuck Kefka because he's a god, and kill Auron because he's already dead, so it doesn't matter. He's still there.
I would fuck Tifa, marry Auron, and kill Kefka.
Where's Balthier though?
Well, Balthier, I'm gonna be cheating on Auron with.
Oh yeah, he's the side bitch.
He is the side bitch, yeah.
I would say that's reasonable.
Okay. So does anyone have any final thoughts, or I'll just read out this list as
The
determined by the entire Final Fantasy fan base, not just us three?
Yes, until you kill us, we still have time. This is not
Yeah.
over for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, it might be over in about a minute. Let me just read this over.
Yeah.
So in number 15 we have Final Fantasy 13. In 14 we have Final Fantasy 2. In 13 we have Final Fantasy 1. In 12 we have Final Fantasy 15. In 11 we have Final Fantasy 4. In 10 we have Final Fantasy 8. 9 Final Fantasy 3. 8 Final Fantasy 5. 7 Final Fantasy 14. 6 Final Fantasy 10. 5 Final Fantasy 7. 4 Final Fantasy 9. 3 Final Fantasy 6. 2 Final Fantasy Tactics. And number 1 is Final Fantasy 12. So, not one number actually matched up with its base.
Nope.
We never even got close.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too bad. We could have. The only one that was close was Final Fantasy 13, I think. To the 13
13 was
spot.
2 away, and Final Fantasy 8 was 2 away from 10.
Shall we give honorable mentions where we mention how bad some of the spin-offs are?
Okay.
10-2 is
Final
sucks.
Fantasy 13-2 is awful. 13-2 is the worst game I played in the series.
Oh, wait a second. I just realized something. We did this all wrong.
Did we?
Yeah, Bravely Default is number 1.
No.
No,
Bravely Default isn't.
not a
No,
Final
that's
Fantasy-
easily like 4.
Okay.
Fantasy game. I'm sorry. I don't care how many of you people try and say it is. It's not.
I've never played Bravely Default, so I have no opinion.
Anyway, now that Techno
No.
said that Bravely Default is not a Final Fantasy game, he will never be on one of these episodes again. So, ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye to Technobliterator. And in fact, say goodbye to all of us, because I think this is where we're ending, unless anyone has a final thought.
That's a no.
That's a
Oh,
no. What?
when the 7 remake releases,
Yeah.
will we be ranking the 7 remake or the 7 original?
Well, did we
Original.
rank the Final Fantasy VII Famicom version?
Oh yeah, we do rank that one. That version is definitely it's better than Final Fantasy 13, I think.
No, that is the worst Final Fantasy game I've ever played. This is by
Have you
far the
played it?
worst.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
you did play.
Yeah, it's terrible. Okay, so good night, everybody, and thank you.